Welcome to the Talent Surgery. This is our first videocast and podcast, so please be kind and bear with us. There may be a few technical problems. We may forget stuff to actually talk about. But my name's Steve, and I am the Talent Acquisition Director for a company called KBRW. And this is my co-host, Yasar.
Hi everyone, my name is Yasar. I'm the VP of Talent at HelloFresh. Me and Steve got together to do this talent surgery for everyone. And we're joined here by...
We are joined by Jat Bansal, who is someone that I know personally, being fully transparent. And he is the wonderful global talent director for Funding Circle. You are global, right?
I am. I'm not sure. I've never been described as wonderful and global in the same sentence, but lovely to be here. Very happy to be here, guys.
You've got to work with me, yeah.
How's it going?
Thank you so much for coming today.
Good. Look, good. Obviously, up fresh and early for this, and coming out at like 6 a.m., pitch black, dark, almost blown away, but lost my umbrella on the way and everything. But definitely excited to be here. I think this is great what we're doing, and really keen to get stuck in.
Nice.
We love the commitment. Thank you. Appreciate it, especially our first guest.
Yeah, why did we set this up, Yasser? What?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The main reason was we were kind of we were talking, right, and we were talking about how there's a lot of content out there, but sometimes you want things that are actually practical, get real advice on this is what's happened, this is what I did, and a lot of the stuff we see online is great, but it's not like a guide or a recipe. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Oh, very fresh.
Yeah. Play words.
Very fresh.
Bit of PR there.
Bit of advertising.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just need a HelloFresh box here. Someone wants to sponsor us.
But I agree, and I think this is really all about having real people with real problems and real solutions. And we're going to be having a host of fantastic speakers, and the lineup is going to be very different, I would say. It's not going to be...
Don't give them too much.
Oh, okay. All right, you're right, yeah. I won't say too much.
But we do have Jat here, so we've got a question for you. Start off.
Okay.
A real difficult question. Do you have any kids?
I have 2 kids.
Do you?
Yes, 2 kids.
How old are they?
3.5 and 1.5.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. This is gonna... Perfect. Okay, so imagine your kid is your 3.5-year-old is now 5-year-old.
Right, yeah.
Explain to them in 3 sentences what you do.
Oh my gosh. That is very hard to do. Look, I help people get their dream roles in the best way I can. It's probably the best way I can explain it.
I think we'll pass that one. That is a big thumbs up.
Yeah. All right, I think...
Well done.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that pasta later on and see if it works.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And what have you enjoyed most in your career so far? How did you even get into it?
I actually started off in a totally different space. I was not in recruitment at all. I was doing, financial products, selling financial products for a few years. Got pretty good at that. And then, a few friends of mine were sort of moving into the industry, recruitment industry. And back then it was very much like agency days. I worked for S3 Group, Huxley, and kind of sort of got into it then. And after a few years of doing that, the whole internal space started to blow up a little bit, and companies started to take it, a lot more seriously, how they're going to grow their brand, how they're going to grow their people. And so I kind of got curious.
So when did you move to the dark side?
It's not the dark side.
Come on now.
There's plenty of light in it.
I think we all know we're on the,
Where's the brand?
yeah. So probably around like 2014.
2014. Nice.
Yeah, my first place was Capital One.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic, and really good experience. And
I used to have those credit cards.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
Awesome
very high
credit
APR.
I didn't set the APR rates for what it's worth, and I think since then, look, the industry's really rocketed, and it's I just love the best thing I love about it is that companies taking people and talent really, really seriously now, and it's become a really big part of decision making, how companies can grow, and that's probably what I love the most, and it excites me the most about what we all do,
because your role right now, you're currently at
Funding Circle.
Right.
That's one.
Funding Circle. Do you want to explain what you do there?
Yeah, sure. So for those who don't know, and this is not an ad, but Funding Circle it's the world's leading SME
Logo
funding
is
platform.
going across right now. You see.
And
We're charging you for that.
we've been going for about 10, 11 years. Operating in the US, UK. We've got some footprint in Europe and India and some so quite a footprint. And my role there really is evolved quite a bit. I joined. A previous CTO joined in San Francisco, and my role there was to really partner with him and head up tech hiring in a few locations. Now it's really changed a lot as the company's changed a lot. The team's tripled, quadrupled. The company's gone multi-product. We've really homed in on our technology space and our commercial offerings, and the company has come to a real maturity point. So you imagine the journey, everyone in the people team, not just talent, the whole function really has gone on that journey as well, and helped that company grow in that way.
So it's a scale up or corporate, or what would you describe? How would you describe it?
I'd love to do an internal survey on that.
Right?
We're a publicly listed firm. We IPO'd a few years back now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you were there before and after, right? So,
I joined just post IPO. I think
Okay.
this was when we were going to really sort of, mature our scaling.
okay, fine. So you didn't see the company before the IPO.
Didn't see it before. I've heard a lot about it, but came just after.
It's the golden window. So I got a question. Just thinking back, like you've been there quite a while now.
That's right.
And obviously you've seen the company grow. You've helped the company grow. What is it right now about recruitment that you see different to when it was in 2014? Because we're going through a weird change right now.
Yeah.
In the last 12 months, we're seeing these layoffs
yeah.
shouldn't maybe the L word. We shouldn't use that. I don't know.
Let's be real about it.
I think the layoffs is a big, obviously a very prominent thing right now. We're seeing a lot of big tech firms laying off. I think it's important to we are seeing a lot of headlines. It is mainly big tech, but if we think about even before this, look at COVID.
Yeah.
Look at the wind down of recruitment and then the aggressive spin up of recruitment after that. Now we may see a little wind down again. Who knows? Will companies be smarter at spinning up now and maybe a bit less willing to let go of people in recruitment? We don't know. I think it's changed a lot though. To your question, 2014 was, still quite mature. Yeah. But I think now the whole people team and talent teams are so much more integrated. So much more commercially involved with decisions, location strategies, third party partnerships. Processes. Everything's a lot more serious.
Yeah.
I think
you're right, by the way. That's a very good point what you said about, TA has evolved a lot, especially at that commercial level. So we're getting much more involved in that workforce planning element, to know what is when is the right time to hire, what should we be hiring long term, but really kind of getting deep into those decisions with the CFO and with the CEO, which is great. It's fantastic skill.
Do you think there's like the sustainable recruitment world? Like we don't have, it's been like hyper growth. And now suddenly it's like, oh, maybe we should have been a bit more slower, responsible, more sustainable, not mass hiring and then mass layoffs.
It's a balance though, because I think the tricky bit is from what I've seen is that when you take an investment, you're promising to grow.
Yeah.
Right? You take that money, and we can say free money or whatever money, but you're taking the money and you have to grow. But then there's always that risk of growing too quickly, growing too fast, hiring too many people, expanding in new markets. And so that do you take that risk and then hope it pays off? Or do you go really slow and follow the market, look at the trends that are happening? It's tricky.
What's happening in your world?
I think the way growth was measured before, look at some of the giants, in the fintech space, I won't mention, but massive valuations, they've come crumbling down at a point where growth, the definition of growth is obviously changed. If you think about funding being linked to revenue goals now versus heads, how many smart minds are you bringing to build a product? They want to see you going to run off 15 quarters without new funding versus 6 quarters. So I think the whole space is changing. I think it will have an impact to the way talent functions run. It'll be more tactical hiring, more strategic hiring, more leaner hiring. And I think it'll be, when companies are going to invest in hiring some people, they want the best, want real A players.
So give us an insight into what your plan, because this is about what we want to get real practical advice, right?
Yeah.
So given the current scenario, given the growth plans, how would you describe your current growth plans and then what your plans are? Because I'm sure the audience here would love to hear how you're dealing with it.
Yeah, so this is definitely not this is definitely like a moment to pause, reflect, and collaborate. Yeah, in the business and with peers and get a view of, what is the smart moves in 6 months, 12 months, some scenario planning. But, for us, we've come to the moment around probably 3 things is what I'm really homing in on with the business. One of them is around our location strategy, looking and working with our CTO and other execs around, where do we want people to be for this new world that we're in, for maybe not just for time zone stuff, but also for spin up, spin down models and just being a bit more nimble as we see the world changing so much. And other areas are things like, tech hiring, a lot of strategic tech hiring when we're going to hire a lot of tech staff next year,
right?
Which is great to say that today. And what are they doing next year is something we're being a lot more closer on. It's no longer just hire 50, 100 people here. It's more like, let's hire 50 people to specifically come in and do this specifically, and it's a lot more knowledge sharing, a bit more transparency around that.
So more rigor around
a lot more rigor.
Yeah, so it's almost like a consultancy approach in a way.
Definitely
where
is.
They're much more focused on the project.
Yeah, when you do this information flow, it allows people to also share their own view. Think about how much talent professionals see, other companies doing from speaking. So much information. And they get to share that. And the last point I would say is that we're focusing on around is, our strategic growth areas. We're launching new products, 3-4 new products. We think they'll be massive in our space. And we want to hire some of the best people in the industry to help grow those products first time round. So
how does your business know, and sorry, I know this is a slightly different question, but I'm always curious to know, how does your business know when is the right time to launch a new product in the market?
Well, look, I won't claim that everyone gets it right all the time. But I think,
No.
we are. I would say, the crux of Funding Circle is, we're quite bold in some of our moves.
Yeah.
We've tried new markets, new countries. We're never scared to look at things. But the reality is, we've been going 10, 11 years. We are probably number one, obviously, in the way we look at credit modeling, credit risk.
Sponsored by
this week, just this
our sort of customer experience, our institutional investment. It's really, really A grade, really. So
homing back in the recruitment team. So how are you securing your recruitment team? Because I'm sure there's some leaders listening thinking, well, he's talking about sustainable growth, being really firm. But then you may have got a team, I don't know if you do or don't, but you may have a team that you're thinking, okay, well, how do I keep them busy? And how do I justify their headcount? So for a recruitment leader out there, what advice would you give, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I think often TA headcounts are always linked to capacity modeling, right? And, when hiring slows down, it's like, do we need them? Type of thing. I mean, let's be honest, right? That's kind of how it is. And I think there's a bit there around, the leaders should always be quite open to the C team and maybe, whoever they need to around the real cost of letting go the people who are building your company.
Yeah.
Their skill set is not literally finding a CV and dumping it in a rec and filling a role, right? It's a massive skill set they've got. I think there's a big case there to make around, okay, here are some revenue linked projects that I think we've got very fungible people can go into. I think redeployment is one of the most underserved sort of tactics in these stress markets. Yeah, and I was shocked that in COVID times when so many layoffs were happening. I thought we've got people who are good at marketing, selling products, product development. I've had people in my team going to product teams, going to marketing teams,
which makes a lot of sense.
And then come back in. They learn the business even more, get close to your customers.
So internal mobility, focusing on internal mobility.
I think that's a massive part, and especially for startups. I think when they need to then scale up again, think about the cost of trying to build a really good talent team. And I think making that case quite directly is quite important. And the other side of it is, look, you can get left behind. When the market's picked up, people are scrambling to hire recruiters. I suspect a lot of people settled for recruiters and missed out on some really great people. Yeah. And I think there's a case for that.
Sounds like a really bad relationship.
It's true. TA is such a critical part of any business. In fact, I think TA is a business within itself, and HR, because ultimately, who's really building the organisation? Who's bringing in the talent to strengthen the business? You know,
Yeah.
when you ever look up, I don't know if you ever looked up the word recruitment in the Oxford Dictionary.
I don't know, but I just
And it
imagine.
says-
Are you going to tell us the exact wording?
Yeah.
Well, kind of. But it actually talks about armies, and it talks about recruiting armies and building armies, and that's what we do. We build armies, and we build them in layers so that we've got it structured. That you've got your leaders, you've got your managers, you know, you've got your people who are following, and it works, and everybody's in unison. How can we get more companies to do that?
See, that was very deep, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was
that-
very
Yeah, I did go a bit
philosophical.
deep. I'm sorry.
I want to go
Yeah,
back
yeah,
into
yeah.
work and call my boss a lieutenant or something. You know, I think. But you know, it's totally spot on. I think
But
it's totally right.
Right? You know,
It's
there's a
totally
structure there.
There was a bit around, I was thinking as well, I should have mentioned around, you know, you mentioned HR and, you know, I think like companies are merging the two more and more. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, like a lot of my team are now involved in like, you know, HR stuff, you know, exit interviewing, you know, integrations of staff, you know, there's a way to stretch people's careers out.
Yeah.
And at the same time fill gaps that need to happen.
Yeah.
You know,
New skills.
Really interesting you said that, because I'm just going to plug what we're doing at HelloFresh here, but we do the same thing. We're going through the same journey, which is, okay, we've got less roles, got 200 recruiters globally. What do you do with them? And you're kind of integrating multiple competencies into their roles. So, okay, well, let's focus on internal mobility, or the sources can focus on talent marketing, or the coordinators can focus on talent intelligence, to really kind of build up the capabilities so people firstly are learning. And then on top of learning, they're actually adding more value.
Amazing.
For the first time, they've actually, if this is a great opportunity area, because it's like, okay, I don't actually have to, I can breathe.
Totally. And you know what I love about that is, you know, and we haven't mentioned this, and I never really hear this on anything really, on any show or cast, but you know, the whole experience of a recruiter or a people person is not really looked at in the sense of, in the same lens that we look at the experience of our own candidates. And just by doing things like that, I think it transforms the way they experience the role.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something I focus on quite a bit, you know, the experience of people in our teams. And I think a lot of our project work is always the experience of other people, right? And
Yeah.
I love that you're doing that. You know, I think it's that will grow more, I think,
Yeah, no.
in the
And
industry.
it is good because when your team do decide to leave, they can, when in the future they'll be always looking back saying, you know, I learned that at Funding Circle, you know, and there's a real appreciation there.
That's right.
Just me and Steve were talking about productivity tips
Yeah.
the other day, and we thought we'd ask.
Oh God.
No, it's a simple question.
Okay.
Give us your productivity.
Throwing him under a bus now.
Yeah, productivity hack that you do to make yourself more productive. I know we're going completely off topic. But
Well, you know, it's so many ways to answer that. I mean, I think the
Top of mind.
look, the obvious things, right? Like planning, to-do lists, you know, that type of stuff. And I'm sure everyone, I mean, but the thing for me that really works around, I think like the headspace.
yeah,
Having a very clear headspace, a very clear view on what you need to do in the short term, long term. You know, it might be some people write things down, what they need to, and literally tick it off. For me, I don't do any of that.
okay,
Right, I, you know, I'm in the space where often my diary is got 100 meetings at once, and I probably don't need to be in most of those.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or I haven't set them up, and I didn't even know they were there. Yeah, and so just being quite in control of your day instead of letting the day run you. Yeah, I think is really important in our roles.
Yeah.
and you know, using your team a lot. Yeah, getting, you know, spreading things around, I think is really important. You know, I think my team would say I do that in the right way. You know, not do this, but you know, let's all do this. You know, sort of thing. And then look, lastly, I think, you know, just being quite disciplined in your own. You know, if you're really good at something, you know, really home in on that and get it done really fast. If you know that, you know, something's quite key, needs to happen, it's quite high exposure, you're not the best at it. I think kind of know that about yourself. You know, if it can take you like 3 days to do something.
So you set realistic deadlines.
yeah.
What do you do? Unhealthy, healthy habit?
I overwork.
Do you?
Yeah, I can't switch off.
Oh no!
No,
All
no,
right, we need to
it's
work on it
terrible.
after this. I tell you,
I do too much. I think it's because I'm glutton for punishment. I enjoy it. I get a buzz of constantly being busy. But I know that as soon as I've stopped, I actually said this to my wife the other day, as soon as I stop working or doing something and I close my eyes, I'm gone. I'm asleep within 5 minutes. You know, it's like an on and off switch almost. So, but I enjoy being busy, and I love, you know, the productivity element for me is I get to be extremely creative in my job, and I can do so much A/B testing, which, you know, I highly recommend to anybody. Sometimes it doesn't have to always be straightforward, right? It might not, you know, it might not come natural to everyone. It just comes natural to me. That's just the nature of how I work. But I get great success out of it.
So you work a lot. You got set good deadlines. I'll tell you what I do. I have now, I think I've perfected it. So I've got this 4-hour rule. Every day I have 4 hours free. Doesn't typically in one block, and I block my diary every day, the entire diary. So you know how like time is money.
Yeah.
So if time is money, then time is the most valuable commodity, which means that I'm not going to give you my time. So I block out my diary, and if someone wants to book a meeting, they have to ask me instead of just blocking the meeting. And that for me gives me more control. And I think that was one of the biggest productivity tips that I took from my dad. It was like, he was ringing me. He was like, I can't get through to you. Make sure between 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I can, you know, I can get through to you, because what if it's an emergency? And I thought, oh, you know what? He's right. If I haven't got time to answer the phone to my dad, something's wrong.
Wow.
I think, you know, a friend of mine always said to me, like, always have a plan, right? And I think it is very important to structure yourself. I read this book a couple of years ago, pre-COVID actually. I was on holiday and I never read books. But I read a book, and it was about CEOs. And it was really interesting because one of the things which all the CEOs had in common, successful CEOs of these big tech companies actually, was that they all get up between 4:30 and 5:30.
Oh, this is,
and they start their day really early. So I was like, can I do that? I tried it. I still do it now.
Really?
So, yeah, for 4 years I've been getting up 5 a.m. And what the great thing is that that means I have time, so I don't have to rush in the morning. I'm up. I'm getting stuff ready for the children, getting their lunches ready, you know, for school obviously, and then I'm ready by 7:30 actually to start my day. Funny enough, but I'm looking at all my emails. So by 9 o'clock, I'm really ready to start my day, you know, or even 8 o'clock.
Do you think like the world of hybrid and remote working has really like boosted this? You know, it sounds like
I'm the opposite of him. I'll bleep that out.
I was going to say, he also made us look bad, because I definitely don't make lunch in the mornings for the kids. So thanks for that.
No, I'm completely opposite. I wake up at 8:45, roll out of bed, and I'm straight into work. But because I have my 4 hours a day, I can do my productivity then.
Yeah, nice.
And then if I want to stand outside, I'm not like, if I wanted to water the grass, I'm at home. I can water the grass wherever time it is and just stand there, chill, have my time to decompress midday.
Yes, yeah.
So
I can see how that can work from a mental health perspective. Absolutely,
and it also is like this idea, you can't actually give 100% at work.
Yeah.
Because if you give 100% at work, what happens after work?
Yeah.
I get that.
You've got zero energy.
I think like as well that, you know, if you think about the types of people, right, like on the masses, the types of personalities in our game, a lot of them operate very reactively, in their days. And so this conversation here, a lot of people will say, you know, it's a good idea. But I think a lot of people look at good performance, high performance as how quick they react to things. Very reactive type of day for a lot of people, you know?
Isn't that what I like to think, and I know Steve definitely does as well, I'm speaking on your behalf here, but fire prevention instead of firefighting.
Yes,
right?
It is. It's
so,
totally that.
You want to, and going back to what you said, plan.
Yeah.
So if you're reactive, well then you need a sense of urgency. But if you're proactive, you're ahead of the game, you know what to come, and you create like a downturn strategy. Okay, if this happens, these are what the things we need to do.
Yeah.
Then I think you know, you can be like that. You can relax and enjoy your life a bit more.
Circling back to you, play on words.
I like that.
How long have you been at FC now?
Coming up to 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, coming to 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. And what have you seen through that journey since you joined? What have you seen as the biggest kind of challenges, obstacles, headaches, you know, that you've kind of faced in that time that you've really kind of taken it head on, you know? And how did you overcome all these?
So, the thing, I'll just start off with saying, the thing that really powers my mindset with it all is, the companies I've worked for generally, and even prior to Funding Circle, very mission-driven companies. I'm a very mission-driven person. I think a lot of people in our game, very hard to motivate and overcome things unless you really, really believe in the mission. Our mission is all around helping small businesses, and that helps a lot in the long-term thinking, and I think there's been some real challenges. I think some out of our control, some in our control. If I think about, we have sometimes we're a bit ambitious in our hiring, and I think the way that comes around is quite quick, and there's a lot of movement, and sometimes it's a real challenge because we operate on a very heavily direct sourcing model. It's worth saying, so that's part of the challenge here.
Okay.
Not that I want to brag, but I just want to say, we did like 97% of global roles filled directly without using any third parties. And
what was the source? Is it mainly
mainly like sourcing platforms, HackerJob, the likes of that, and the obvious link, like we're all born with
we
LinkedIn.
need them to sponsor us as well now. He said HackerJob.
Yeah.
So
HackerJob's
we're coming
fantastic.
for you.
Mark, I hope you're listening.
Please sign up, Mark. And obviously we're all born with a LinkedIn license, so that's there as well. And
we're not getting no discount from them.
No, we're not.
Increase, yes.
So but that takes a lot, around like high performance, constant performance, planning, capacity planning, this type of thing. And the challenge in that is sometimes, we've got real challenges around, our tech stack is super niche. It's very, it's Clojure, Ruby,
right.
They maybe hire 80 senior software engineers in 6 months,
Right. Didn't 95% of Ruby engineers convert to Python?
Yes. Most likely.
It's
very tricky.
So again, right. So it's tricky.
Very hard.
How do you do that?
So, we don't, and just put it out there, and but what we do, we play back loads of ways around that. But when you're doing this, time is passing, right? And the challenge for us is we need people in, building products, making products for our customers fast, So it's a real challenge, and I think a lot of the challenge for me overcoming that is obviously on the stakeholder piece, dealing with people in tech and product, and kind of co-creating solutions. It's not my solution to build; it's all of our sort of challenge. And the other part is hiring really good people in the team. In my team, really people who know their space. They've been at lots of other companies before. They've seen it. They've done it. Credible people. That people will listen to. You get that type of mix going on, and I think it really helps.
So you hiring them because of their CV, or are you hiring them because of them?
I think
the
reality is, I think CV helps a lot in times where you need things done, versus we're going to make a bit of a training camp. It's and I think it's important to know what you need.
I suppose it's whether or not if you're set up to actually, offer that training camp.
Exactly. I think like the biggest thing I actually look for a lot in interviews is aptitude. People's attitudes and their sort of the way they think, the way they look. And the CV obviously mostly has to complement that, but it's a big part of it.
I've been thinking back when you said you joined the nice side, the white, what do we call it? What is internal now? You said it's not the dark side, so what is the good side? They're the good side.
Obviously,
okay.
Guys.
We'll say recruitment for good.
Recruitment for good.
Like
okay, so we're on the good side now. So joined 2014, joined Funding Circle, joined as a talent acquisition partner.
So I joined as a global head of tech recruiting.
At the time.
At the time, that's right.
Okay. And so you've grown now into taking over a lot more responsibility.
That's right. Yeah.
And so what advice can you give our listeners? To, how do you grow in your career? Because you went fairly quickly from external to internal.
That's right. Yeah.
And then grown into your director role now.
Yeah.
What kind of practical advice would you give people to kind of accelerate their career?
I think there's probably two sides to this. Yeah, if I think back, one, there is an element of throwing yourself into situational opportunities. Yeah.
Okay.
And by that, what I mean is, if you kind of have a rough plan.
Yeah.
A rough plan here of what success will look like in your next 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe don't go and join a FTSE 50. Maybe go and join a startup and get very horizontally skilled. Yeah, spread yourself, learn loads of stuff. Yeah, and then go and join a bigger firm, and your value will shine, for example. And I think a lot of it is around situational, and the exposure you get. That's something. So I'll give you a very quick example. When I joined Capital One,
Yeah.
there was no tech recruiters in London. Yeah, we had to start a hub, right? And that's very different, for example, to me joining another bank, where it's done, right?
Yeah.
And that exposure as my first internal role totally transformed my learnings, my experience, and probably my confidence, around like saying to senior folks, actually, I don't know, I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
And that type of thinking versus going in a space where it's kind of preset.
Right. Yeah.
And so that type of situation, you can see that, right? And I think people should be very conscious of what they want out of it.
So breadth, jack of all trades
Yeah,
instead of a
definitely.
master. And so that would help them accelerate their career. What about when they're in a couple of years deep? They're now like a senior recruiter or a senior manager, now trying to take the next jump. So what advice would you give your team typically to say, like, okay, if you want to get a promo,
Yeah.
because these days everybody wants a promo every 6
Yeah.
months, no offense, but that's
That
what
is
I'm
true, yeah.
observing, right?
Can get quite transactional.
Yeah. So how would you give them that? Like, what would be the most important thing for you?
I think, look, there's having clarity, driving some clarity around what does progression look like. Yeah, I think being a manager isn't always progression, and having that open talk with people around their self-awareness and self-clarity. Now, some of the best recruiters I know would be the worst people leaders, right? But they could go and do some phenomenal work.
Right.
And so just having that type of chat, I think ongoing conversations helps a lot. I guess, like, in terms of advice, how you would want to progress. I mean, look, there's thinking a bit more real about it. How are people promoted in companies? It's about exposure. It's about value add beyond your role. Being consistent in your energy, your drive. Not being the guy at the back, or at the back of the meeting room, slumped. Not involved.
Yeah.
Being the person who really turns up.
Yeah.
That's
So proactive,
that's very proactive
Get
thinking.
stuck in.
And it kind of comes down to like, I've always said it, and people watching this, my team will know I say this quite often. Being in a company for X amount of years doesn't warrant promotions. I think that mindset.
Thank you.
I really believe in
appreciate
that. I really do.
I completely agree.
I think, and I know we're in a different world now, and that might be very unpopular to say, but I think the reality here is you've got to earn your stripes,
That's right,
and only you can do it, I think.
I always say this, like, I never have expectations. I don't. I do. I just do. And the reason why is because in life, every time I've had an expectation, it hasn't worked out. So I kind of like learned that.
That's
and I think, it's a shame, but it's reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't expect things just to kind of come to you.
Just on that point, actually, though, because you have a tendency to really hone in on the work, right? You said it earlier, like, I deep dive into my work. I enjoy it. I work really hard. So I feel like there's something there we got to read in between the lines, which is, be present, get the work done, but really and truly, it's like impact, right? Do impactful work.
Sure.
So if you were prioritizing your work, make sure you impact. But there was I was listening to, I can't remember the presenter now. It was at Breakfast. Shout out, Jamie. But there was a presenter who was talking about Mondo Frank's PI methodology for promotion. And he said, 10% of your promotion will be based on performance. 30% will be based on the perception of you, so your image, and 60% will be based on the exposure you have to others. And I think you both are kind of performance, but also image showing up, being there.
Which I can understand that 60% is big, but also makes a lot of sense. You're getting a huge exposure from everyone around you.
Yeah.
But that's, for me, that uplifts me massively.
Totally. I mean, the also, career progression for recruiters, and in general, in anyone really, but I always speak around like career progression, got to think slightly bigger as well than the company you work for.
Yeah.
If you think, career progression for me when I first went to Capital One wasn't if I stay at Capital One for 5 years or compare the market or where I am now, I'm going to be something like that, head of something. I think like there's an element around planning, a couple of years you're here. Okay, where are you going next?
10-year
Is
plan.
that here or is that here? Where is it?
It does make me laugh though when you remember. I don't know if people still do it now, but I do remember when you used to go for an interview, probably about 10 years ago maybe, and people would ask you, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Oh,
Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?"
I like that question.
Do you?
Yeah.
I say I don't know where I'm going
Why-
tomorrow.
what do you mean? I want to take
the
over.
thing is, at the time, this just to your point now, like at the time I was thinking that's the most ridiculous question, but now I'm like, that makes sense because where do you want to be in that period of time?
I think it's
You know,
more
where
of
do you see your career going?
mindset
So you're
conversation.
telling me you
isn't
don't know what promo you want in the next couple of years?
it? Oh, wow.
My boss knows
My boss
categorically.
is listening, so, yeah, I mean, this is what I want. Here are my demands.
Make them public.
But it's
Yeah.
also almost like asking everyone what's your North Star, right?
That's
Think
it. Yeah,
about
that's a great way to say it.
and
To be retired.
but how many people really know what their North Star actually are?
Well, what I have come across a lot is people kind of hungry for promotions, right? But they don't quite know the detail, like why and what does it mean? What do they actually want? If you say someone says I want to be a senior,
Yeah.
and you say what does that exactly mean to what you do now? It's fantastic. Unlock it a little bit more, and the planning needs to be really done. I think first before like wanting things.
I always like we do this in most companies, but you have the what, which is like, okay, this is what you need to achieve, and people hone in on that. But there's a big part which is the how. How do you do your job? And there's a less measurable. So, like you said, turning up. Are you? Yeah, you did 30, 50, 60 hires, but did you piss off everyone along the way? So the how is just as important as the what. And as you get more senior, the how becomes even more important. And that's a lot of people struggle to kind of grasp that.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good points there. So I think we have one final question for you.
Yeah. What's the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you in your recruitment career? Actually, it's going to be for all of us. To make it a bit more interesting.
Oh man, I can't say that on air, guys.
Come on,
Really.
we've got to get an exclusive.
And by the way, you know what? It could be anything, right? It could be with a candidate. It could be with a colleague, or an employer.
I'm going to say something quite PG, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Just for the sake of my.
Well, it is our first show, and we want people to actually
the sake
watch
of
the rest
future
it,
income.
so,
Yeah.
keep it PG.
I think a really stupid thing I did. Right. I met. This wasn't a funding circle. I just want to say that. But I met a candidate. Right. It was a very senior person. It was a very last stage of the process. Right.
Right.
And we had done like a million interviews with this person. Right. It was like an exec search type role. Anyway, I met the person, and it was essentially like signing the contract type meeting, right? And we meet up. It was fine. It must have been like midday, and one thing led to another. We started drinking and getting married, celebrating really the fact that he was going to come work with us. It was fun, it was great. It was all good. And if you fast forward that day, it got really crazy. Yeah,
Okay.
and it was good fun. It was all good stuff. But the embarrassing part is the next day, me and him had woken up, and I shit you not, in the boardroom
Beep that out.
of the company I was at. And you imagine, this is a guy, I won't say his name because he'll kill me for this. But it was a very senior dude at a place, and we woke up literally the next day in the office.
In the office?
In the office. In our boardroom. Ironically, the contract was signed, but guess what? He signed it. He actually wrote, "What a blast."
Oh my God.
Somehow he wrote that instead of signing the contract.
Oh my God.
We woke up at 8:30 a.m., people walking everywhere, and we're like, oh shit.
Oh, okay, that trumps everything.
And I've got to say, guys, I'll always remember that. And I thought, what a bloody great hire.
Yeah, that's pretty
pretty intense.
pretty bad.
Oh, well, it's
Pretty
that's
good
a
and
nice
bad.
story though.
Oh, it's a very nice story. There's a lot I blanked out there, but I think it was phenomenal.
Sounds like a fun night.
It's a great hire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do to get people in,
Get them drunk, basically.
Steve, you go next.
Me.
Yeah.
I have too many. Oh gosh, this is actually quite really
It was
tricky.
your question.
No, I know. I wasn't prepared for it myself. So, okay, I do have one. It was a long time ago. It's probably about 16 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was a candidate situation, actually. I won't say where I was or anything like that. The candidate was interviewing for an investment bank. And the candidate came in to meet me in my office when people used to still do that.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah. Show my age now. And unfortunately, he had terrible BO. And it was a really awkward situation. Now, anyone that's listening might have been in this situation. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever been in it. But it was really tough. Now, the position was a senior position. It was a senior guy. And I just remember going to my manager,
Right.
Asking for their advice. And they didn't know what to do. What do you do in these circumstances? Because they're about to go for a face-to-face. They've actually come in before to meet me before they've gone for their interview across the road.
Right.
Because the investment bank was just literally round the corner.
Right.
So I just remember phoning a couple of friends, like, what do I do? Do I need to, I actually left him in the room for about 5-6 minutes. It was awkward. It was like, I'll get you a coffee, and in the end, I had to be honest.
And how awkward was that?
And I said,
Scale to 1 to 10.
How good was it?
How awkward?
Awkward. Well, for me, massively awkward. For him, he was really appreciative.
Really?
So yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's quite a nice. That's not really
he
embarrassing.
I feel like this is more embarrassing for him than you, but
Yeah.
No, but it was embarrassing for me because obviously I didn't know how to handle the situation, and
Sure.
honestly, like my immediate reaction at the end was, I just need to be honest, like, you stink. But I didn't say,
Steve.
obviously I didn't say it like that. Obviously, I just said, like, it might be a good idea to clean yourself up before you go for the interview. Put some nice aftershave on, smell good. I did it in a very subtle way.
Okay, fair enough.
And it worked, and he got the job.
oh, amazing.
I've got something a bit simpler. It's just really awkward, but it was awkward, not embarrassing. So 2011, I'm working for a company as a recruitment manager, and a candidate walks into the main kind of office courtyard bit and has a picture of me. Says, I'm coming here to meet this person.
He printed a photo of you.
She printed a picture of you.
Off my face. And I was thinking,
Where did she get it from?
what, this is what I thought. And then, so I got a phone call from a reception laughing, saying, Yasser, there's someone here with there's someone here with a picture of you.
Oh my goodness.
And they want to meet you. And I thought, well, I've got a candidate meeting now, so I can't meet them. Pick up the phone, they call me back and they're like, no, this is the candidate. I'm like, so I go back downstairs. I'm like, hi. Oh, yes, hi. And then we get into the conversation. I'm like, just out of curiosity, why did you have my picture? And she was like, well, my dad works for the CIA, and I wanted to do some research on you before, and I thought he already printed your picture.
About the FBI.
I already printed the picture off, and I thought, this is so weird.
Yeah.
So then, finished the interview, whatever. Done. Next day, I'm like, where did she get that particular picture? It was on Twitter. I just signed up to Twitter. So I was like, no, like people just, I didn't know what to think of.
There were probably so many other nicer pictures you could have chosen.
And does that mean, like, if you didn't hire the person, you'd be found somewhere? What does that mean?
I don't know, but I remember feeling really awkward and just so confused.
I have one question. Did she keep the picture? Did she take it back? Oh, she
She just folded it and put it in her pocket.
Oh, that is.
It was weird. But I was trying to just not think about it at the time. If that had happened now, I'd probably freak out. I'd be calling the police. But yeah,
they won't help you with it. The CIA, that's
very,
incredible.
Very funny.
Wow.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I think
Jat,
we're done.
thank you so much for joining, being our first guest. Where can people find you?
Well, look, my pleasure, guys, to join this. And look, I'm not on any social media, that sort of stuff. I'm not that cool. Yeah, so
Off the
You're
grid.
on LinkedIn, though.
LinkedIn is the only thing
I love your
have.
posts.
So you can find me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, I'm fairly off grid.
Yeah. And we know each other, and I've always valued our conversations and our chats and banter as well. Every time we see each other at events and everything, it's just great. And this is a good guy to know and a good guy to learn from. So I'd highly recommend, if you're not connected with him, definitely connect with Jat.
Would you respond to people if they reached out to you?
Obviously, of
Oh,
course.
okay. Well, you
Come
never
on,
know.
people.
Yeah,
What
no
if they
ghost-
print
They
off a
have my
picture?
photo. I don't know about that, but
No ghosting, okay?
no, obviously not. No, thanks a lot, guys.
No,
Appreciate
listen.
that.
And
Great.
that was our first episode.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Amazing.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I think that was good. So where can people find? Where can they listen to this?
Oh yeah. Well,
It'll be
we're going to post
Spotify?
it. We're going to post it on Spotify,
YouTube.
YouTube, and
Apple
Apple
Podcast?
Play. Yeah, Apple.
Podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, podcast.
Amazing.
Um,
So until next time, then.
brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.